So, what is fluoride really?
Chemical that helps protect.
I'd like to know if you know what fluoride is. You don't know what fluoride is? No idea. What is fluoride and what does it do?
Fluoride is something that
What's fluoride?
I don't know.
Do you know what it does for your teeth?
I don't know the meaning.
Fluoride, and what does it do for your teeth?
I don't know what fluoride is, but I know it protects your teeth.
Fluoride is a toxic industrial waste product. It is used in toothpaste and added to drinking water in many countries. And independent research confirms fluoride is not safe. Fluoride can cause dental fluorosis, indigestion, kidney disease, arthritis, lower IQ, bone fractures, heart disease, etc.
More than 1,000 scientists and medical professionals from across the world have banded together to warn us that even in its most diluted form, fluoride is still a poison and can harm your health.
This is one pollutant that we capture in the phosphate fertilizer industry, and having captured it, we can't dump it into the sea, but we put it into our own drinking water. It's extraordinary.
Fluoride in our water supply is a very real and ever-present risk to our population at large.
A radical view that's made Adelaide dentist Dr. Andrew Harms a renegade among his colleagues and the professional body he once headed in South Australia.
The ADA and other dental professional groups will not speak to anybody from the anti-fluoridation side, but I've been asked to not refer to myself as a past president of the Dental Association of South Australia. In fact, I'm no longer a member of the Dental Association over this issue.
Dr. Harms has joined the growing movement of public discontent about adding fluoride, a potent poison in its most concentrated form, to our drinking water.
The chemical fluoride itself is dangerous, but also I'm concerned about the arsenic levels and the lead levels as a result of these chemicals being dumped.
My boss had a reaction on her skin, and she was asking me one day, could it possibly be caused by fluoride in the water? She was new to the area, had never been around fluoridated water. Well, I did what I've done hundreds of times in my career. I backed away from a chemical and just looked at it. What does it do in the body, and how does it affect it, and these kind of things. What we found just made our jaw drop, and a lot of information on this nature has come out in the past few years. And we have found that the majority of health professionals, certainly average citizens, and people at water districts just don't know some of the real basics.
And here is where you might ask yourself, fluoride helps your teeth, doesn't it? Or does it?
80% tooth reduction with water fluoridation. So what is the benefit of water fluoridation? And I had a close look at several factors. One, comparing different countries of the world, we can see that no matter what we do on fluoridation, whether the country fluoridates or no fluoride at all, decay is reduced the same amount in all countries. We can compare states in the United States. We can see on a graph that as they're plotted in order of increased amount of fluoridation in the state, fluoridation doesn't make any difference. We have the same amount of good health in the states regardless of their fluoridation. Same thing for counties and other locations. That was disturbing to me. If there's no benefit, well, why are we fluoridating?
Currently, 66% of United States residents who rely on public water supplies are exposed to the most consumed drug in the nation, fluoride. The belief behind the widespread practice of adding fluoride to water supplies is reduction of tooth decay at low cost. However, some recent studies suggest that overconsumption of fluoride can raise the risk of disorders affecting teeth, bones, the brain, and the thyroid glands, according to Scientific American editors. Fluoride is toxic in large concentrations, and there is no universally accepted optimal level for daily intake.
Alarm bells have been ringing about the health risks, some from credible scientific sources like Emeritus Professor Paul Connett.
So here we got 1,100 scientists saying, we've read the scientific literature, we say there's a problem. And now what we should get from the other side is a very careful consideration of these reports and a scientific explanation. But we don't get that. All we get is a continuation of this propaganda, this simplistic PR. It's safe and effective, safe and effective, safe and effective. If they repeat it enough times with a white coat on it, everybody's supposed to believe them. The only argument about this is whether we have an adequate margin of safety, and I would stake my scientific career on the fact that there is no adequate margin of safety.
Why is it important not to swallow fluoride?
Because there's harmful chemicals in it that can hurt your throat, can damage your throat.
Why is it important not to swallow fluoride? Do you know why?
I'm sure there's I'm sure it's at the fluoride treatment. There's contaminants, the thing that shouldn't go down to your stomach.
Why is it important not to swallow fluoride? You're getting it. And why is it important not to swallow fluoride when they're giving it to you at the dentist? Why is it important not to swallow fluoride?
The first 25 years of practice, I promoted water fluoridation aggressively. I thought I saw the benefits. It wasn't until I actually looked at the information myself and sat down and looked at the different government agencies and the different reports and the studies that I began to realize that fluoridation was a problem. One of the first things I did is I looked at my tube of toothpaste. It says drug facts. I know it's a drug. If I were to give it to you, it'd have to be a prescription. That's for swallowing. When it comes to toothpaste, it also says don't swallow. And if you do swallow, contact a poison control center. Well, the amount of fluoride that they're talking about is a pea-sized amount of fluoride. You probably don't see that in advertisements, a pea-sized amount of fluoride. Usually when I see an advertisement, it looks more like a Dairy Queen ice cream cone. That amount is 1/4 milligram of fluoride. Well, that's the same amount of fluoride as what we find in 8 ounces of water. 1/4 milligram of fluoride, 1/4 milligram of fluoride. Don't swallow. If you do, call the Poison Control Center. One of the things that
Then, have you noticed Blair now wants to bring in fluoride in the water, and of course all around the world they're doing that. In America, fluoride in the water, good for teeth. Crap! In Toronto, there's a guy called Lineback who was one of the greatest supporters of fluoride in the water. He's the head of dentistry at Toronto University. He's come out now and said, for God's sake, don't have it, don't have it. And as he was saying, they've had it in the water for years, decades in Toronto. They don't have it in the water in Vancouver. There are fewer cavities by a mile per head of population in Vancouver than there are in Toronto. Hey, it's good for teeth. Hey, wait, let's see what it's really about. Do you know when the fluoride was first put in drinking water? In the Nazi concentration camp. Stands back in amazement, can't believe it. This is Charles Perkins, a chemist, who wrote to the Lee Foundation for Nutritional Research, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in 1954, and this is what he wrote. In the 1930s, Hitler and the German Nazis envisaged a world to be dominated and controlled by a Nazi philosophy of pan-Germanism. The German chemists worked out a very ingenious and far-reaching plan of mass control, which was submitted to and adopted by the German General Staff. This plan was to control the population in any given area through mass medication of drinking water supplies. By this method, they could control the population in whole areas, reduce population by water medication that would induce sterility in women, and so on. In this scheme of mass control, sodium fluoride occupied a prominent place. That's what it's about.